There's nothing to writing. All you do is sit down at a typewriter and bleed. Welcome to The Bleeders, a podcast and support group about book writing and publishing. I'm writer and podcaster Courtney Kosak, and each week I'll bring you new conversations with authors, agents, and publishers about how to write and sell books. Today's guest is Emily J. Smith, author of the novel Nothing Serious, which is out this week on February 18th. Nothing Serious is Emily's debut, and we spoke back in October of 2023 about how she got her agent and book deal and working with a developmental editor. And I have been saving this unpublished ever since, so it is super fun to share it with you all now, a year and a half later on the precipice of her publishing debut. And I am hoping to do a follow-up conversation with Emily very soon where we discuss what has changed in the meantime. I am sure she's learned so much. I want to soak up all of her wisdom, and I want to share it with you guys too. So here we go.
Hi, my name is Emily J. Smith. I'm a writer and a tech professional and the author of the upcoming novel, Nothing Serious, which will be out from William Morrow in February 2025.
It sounds like you have had a really incredible journey, and I loved getting a preview of it in Chloe's class. So kind of start at the beginning, like you were working in tech and you were kind of like taking workshops as a writer. Tell me about getting started and then when you decided to get an agent and kind of that phase of it.
Yeah, I wish it was as easy as deciding to get an agent, but yes. We'll start from the beginning. About 6 years ago, I just felt an itch for creative writing like most people do. I mean, I was in my mid-30s, so I was in workshops with people much younger than me. And I started writing what was my first novel, which was just scenes from my life, just kind of patched together. But I worked so hard on it, as so many people do on their first novel. And I tried querying agents for the first novel, and I did it kind of, as you said, I worked in tech. So it was a little bit of a tech approach where I just put it out there and saw the response, which at first was a lot of rejections, and then kind of like iterated on it and was like, oh, okay, so that's terrible. So I need to work and do something different. And then just kind of kept going. And slowly I got better and better feedback, and I workshopped it in classes. And I spent like 4 years on this first novel. And I ended up getting an agent, but she wanted to do a nonfiction project because the novel was very much based on my life and she liked my essays. And so I gave up on the novel for a little bit and put together a nonfiction proposal with this agent. We went out to publishers. It got rejected, but had really strong feedback. We redid it based on that feedback, went out again, got rejected again. I mean, it's like so brutal. Anyone knows it's so brutal.
And then were you like, okay, I got to put this in a drawer or?
Yeah. So then my agent actually left the agency. And I was kind of sick of the nonfiction proposal stuff at that point. I just didn't know the hook and it wasn't interesting to me. And the main feedback on my first novel was the writing is strong, but you need a plot. And I wasn't interested in plot. None of the books I like are plot based. Like it's very kind of Sheila Heti in the head kind of stuff. But when the nonfiction stuff didn't work out and I actually broke my foot and I was home, like house ridden for months at a time. And I was like, F this, I'm going to write a goddamn book with a plot and it's going to have a murder in it. And it had the same themes as my first book, which was like feminism and self-discovery later in life and like queerness and misogyny in tech and all these things that I wanted to explore. But it also had a murder. And it had some plot propulsion. And, it wasn't arbitrary. I say it kind of jokingly because that was a bit of a prompt for me because I just knew that if I tried to write another plotless novel, I would go down the same path. And it was a really different experience. I mean, I wrote the whole book in like 4 or 5 months when I was basically house ridden from having a broken foot, and then pitched it. No, I didn't pitch it. I sent it to an editor to read, and it needed work. And I started to get like disgusted by myself that it was such a commercial novel with a plot and a murder, and it felt so cheesy. And I was like, what am I even doing? Then some other professional opportunity came up. Got money to start my own dating app, which was something I'd wanted to do for so long. So I took it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. I took the VC funding. I did my own dating app. This was like 2 years of my life. And I just put the murder novel in a drawer and was like, oh, I'm so embarrassed by myself. A few years later, the dating app didn't work out. Pandemic happened. I had taken a break from writing. And then I wanted to get back into writing and work on a project. And I opened up the murder novel and I started reading it. And I was like, this is interesting. Like, there is something here. The writing needs to be improved. It is a little cheesy, but I see it now. Like, I have that space. So I had the privilege, because I was doing some consulting work, of taking like 6 months off and just going hard on a revision of this novel. And I did that. And then like October of last year, I started querying. And I was getting pretty good feedback. But no, it's just so hard. I mean, I queried, I think, 52 agents before I heard from this agent. And then, as is always the case, as soon as you get one agent, you send a note being like, oh, I have an offer from an agent. And then a bunch of other agents reply. And they're like, oh, okay, that's interesting, actually. But yeah, she was a new agent at the agency, and she really just like attached to the book, because I had some agents.
This is the latest who you're currently with?
Yeah, I signed with her.
I did not do the thing that you're supposed to do where you're like, okay, now I got one bite, I'm going to try to get more. I did not do that. I was just like, oh, great, you're my agent.
I respect that so much. And that's what I would have done if I didn't have my good friend Courtney in my ear being like, here's how you play it. Here's all the things. And she's so kind of like savvy in this. So I just did exactly what she told me. But I ended up going with my original agent because I just respected so much that she was the first one and she saw it and she didn't have all these changes. Like, I had a bunch of agents be like, I like what you're doing, but I want a bigger plot twist at the end. Yeah, like I want it to be this kind of like thriller. And it's not a thriller. It's like an everyday kind of novel that's a little bit creepy. No, but actually I had one agent talk to me on the phone and say, if you do this, I'll be really interested. So I literally did. I spent like 3 months of my life rewriting the whole thing as a thriller, and it made it so bad. I was just so desperate.
I love that part of the story, because it is like, yeah, you kind of have to just, at some point, you have to stick with like what you love and your way of working.
Totally agree. I mean, the crazy thing is then from when she went out to publishers, it only took 2 weeks to get an offer. I mean, the agent part was so challenging compared to anything else for me.
After this long journey, which was like 90% trying to get an agent and then 10% selling the book so fast. That's amazing. What did you learn along the way that you would recommend to other writers about how to pursue that?
I think I was a bit thinking I was so special. I didn't need to like follow the conventions of writing and have a plot or something. Or like not, I wasn't as concerned about entertaining the reader. I was concerned about telling my story. And I kind of looked down on myself if I was trying to entertain the reader. And it's like, no, you need that. People want that. I mean, the other side of that is like, don't compromise the integrity of the story you're trying to tell in your writing. Like, I even went that end and I saw it like in front of me turn into this terrible mush of like, an attempt at a thriller. I mean, I love thrillers, but I can't write them. And you can't just like squeeze a peg into a hole or whatever. That's not the right analogy, but a square into a hole. So those are major things. And then I constantly, and I love this podcast and everything you're doing, because I think hearing people's stories is so important to keep going. Like, I was really unmotivated to keep going a lot of the time. And even towards the end, like my agent reached out 3 months, I think, after I had sent her the query. I really thought she was just like dead in the water, move on, but you just got to keep trying. And it's at different paces. Like, I took 2 years off to do this other thing before being able to come back and physically look at this manuscript. Like I couldn't physically look at it because I was like, ugh, my writing.
Yeah, no, and sometimes you just like it just takes time to unlock it. So you have to be patient, even though you want a book deal.
Be patient with yourself. I know. And I think it's helpful to publish little things along the way if you can. That's also hard in its own nightmare, but I did essays here and there that when you need that just like hit of validation, it keeps you going a little bit.
So moving forward, what's your game plan? No pressure.
Yeah, I have it all planned out. No, I'm working on another novel, which is in a similar vein. Like I kind of am now into this like everyday, not mystery, but like kind of like thriller undertones or something, but largely based on my real life. Because I am like nonfiction a lot. I write a lot of nonfiction. So it's in a similar vein. And it definitely has a plot. And so I'm just trying to work on that. But I'm trying to be patient with myself because it's just like, it's so hard to write a novel. And I did that first one, I think, because I was just insane because I was house ridden and broke my foot in a really short time. But it's like, you can't put those expectations on yourself.
It is fun, though, that 6 months that you took or whatever. Like I'm in the finishing phases of a manuscript right now. And it's so fun to just be in it in a way that
I love that.
It's like luxurious. You normally don't even have that time, but right now I'm taking it. My like auto reply is like, don't email me.
That's so amazing. And it's so helpful for a novel to just be like totally in it. Honestly, I would need to take like a chunk of time off work, I think, to get, I don't know how someone does it. Like fully in an hour before work each day or something. I mean, I know people do, and especially like working moms who are writers. I mean, I can't imagine, but I'm not that talented. Like it's so helpful to have space.
Yeah. How did you keep from going crazy?
Oh my God.
Do you have any tips on that? The waiting part? Oh my God.
Writer friends, just writer friends are everything. People who understand the struggle and will be there to celebrate with you on every little step, even getting a reply from an agent, even if it's a rejection, even if there's like one kind word in it. It's so brutal. And normal people don't understand. Like when I say I got an agent, they're like, oh, cool. Like, did someone introduce you or something? I'm like, no, this is like, it's a whole world of work behind this event. So having people that understand that struggle, I mean, I didn't have writing friends before I started writing in my mid-30s because I didn't consider myself a creative person. Writers intimidated me. Like, and I just, now I could not live without them. Like, and I just met them all at workshops.
I know, that's such a good way to go. I'm almost scared. I know some writer friends who have like gotten their MFA, and I went to school for acting initially, and something about it killed the joy for me. And so I'm like, I can't imagine doing an MFA, but I love workshops. I'm constantly in workshop.
I totally agree. Yeah, I know. I was worried about the same thing. I mean, definitely. And I've heard people who have said that, who have gotten MFAs.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
It's a legitimate concern.
Yeah. I'm sure it's different for each person, but I have heard people say it like kills some of the creativity inside of them.
Yeah, you don't need it.
Yeah. So, I agree.
Okay. Well, I feel like, is there anything else that you would share with Bleeders about going on submission, landing an agent, getting an illustrious book deal?
Illustrious. It pays. Yeah, it's a book deal. I'm happy about that.
It's a pretty good book deal.
Yeah. I think people have asked, how did you find the list of agents you reached out to? And I just want to like emphasize, it was just cold, hard Google searching, like Twitter searching. Like there's no magic way. It's just scour the internet, look up what query letters look like. Manuscript Wish List, I think, is the service that does like, you do workshops to edit your query letter or have someone review it at least, which I did a few times.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Tell people about I don't think we discussed the developmental
Oh, the
edits.
development editor. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that was really, really invaluable for me. So I did a few different times in the novel. Right after I wrote the first draft, I got a development edit. Then I took the break from it. Then when I went deep in it, after that, I got another development edit when I was like, my brain couldn't push any further on it. And I knew it wasn't there. And I needed someone to tell me what to do. Like
Yeah.
you get to that point with writing and you're just like, I need another perspective. It costs, it's costs money. I said my friend gave me a deal and it was like, I want to say $1,200 or something, which is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really, really worth it for me. And yeah, I just think if you're at that point where you need a little bit more help and you believe in the manuscript, like it's so worth it. I don't think I would have done another developmental edit. Like at that point, I think at that point, there's only so much money you can spend on a manuscript that's making you no money. But unless you want to keep going, I mean, I think they're always valuable as much as you can.
Yeah.
And it really helped me.
I mean, that's kind of in lieu of doing that. I'm doing Chloe's workshop, which is like another way to have a group of people look at your work, have deadlines, have that external stuff that you do get in an MFA, but also you can just do it with it's like a built-in writers group. It's amazing. But yeah, I mean, that community and that time from an editor's eyes totally cost money.
And the other valuable part of it, though, which I'm sure you get in the workshop, I think that's a great other option, is just someone to tell you oh, keep going. Like, this is good. Maybe they have, I'm sure they'll have edits and they should, but
yeah.
Oh, this part is great. That goes so much when you're at the end of the line and are just like, what am I doing? Am I totally insane looking at this manuscript?
Yeah.
So.
Okay, amazing. Well, I want to do a full episode with you when your book comes out.
Definitely, Courtney. I can't wait. February 2025.
Ooh. Do you know anything about the edit process yet?
Oh, I'm waiting to get edits. I should have them by the end of the month. I'm worried. I hope they're not that big, but we'll see.
Well, you've already written the draft. So yeah.
I spoke to the editor. She, acquired it and said she didn't have any, major changes. She liked the ending. She liked the character, so we'll see. Who knows?
Ooh, awesome. Well, congratulations. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me on this series.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was great.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Bleeders. Writing is so much better with friends. I'm your host, Courtney Kosak, and hey, let's connect on social media. I am at Courtney Kosak. Last name is Kosak on Twitter and Instagram. And make sure you're signed up for the Bleeders Companion Substack for all kinds of newsletter exclusives. There's so much good stuff that I send out to my free list, and I actually just launched a paid subscription with some extra goodies where I take you behind the scenes of all my best bylines. I published a post about my return to stand-up comedy and how I got ready to crush my showcase. I wrote about MFAs and whether or not I think it is worth it. I also did one of my favorite workshops I've ever taught. It's a manifestation workshop that I did for the new year, but it's really good any time of the year. So there's so much good stuff for free subscribers and even more for paid subscribers. And there is a link in the description for that. And join me again next time for another all new episode. In the meantime, happy bleeding.